And a very good evening, everybody, and welcome in to another edition of the Hockey Known Aboard Flyers pregame show. Tonight on Wednesday Night Hockey, the Philadelphia Flyers played their last game of the Metropolitan Division slate as they battled the New York Rangers for the fourth, final time this season. This time at MSG or Madison Square Garden in New York on this Wednesday night of NHL action. Anyways, a pleasant good evening, everybody. I'm your host, James Scorza, with you for the next 15 minutes or so. So, a lot of things have happened in the last couple of days or so for the Orange and Black. Obviously, the last time we checked out the Flyers was a game that could have gone either way for either Montreal or the Flyers' sake, but the difference was it was Montreal winning that game this night. But the big storyline in this game tonight, it's about who's going to be the youngsters that are going to be stepping up in this game here tonight to find out what they have in store for the upcoming future and also what they have in store for the upcoming draft as well. Like I mentioned, the Flyers coming into this game here tonight, just still trying to figure out what they're going to be doing at the end of the season. I mean, we are exactly 1 week away after tonight. It will be the closeout of the 2024-2025 NHL season, and then that's where the Flyers will be landing out right now. Right now, the Flyers are looking to try to get back on the outside looking in, but the difference is, it's a different race right now than it was the last couple games, obviously. So if this was a time to step it up here, I think it would be a little bit too late, but at the same time, like I said, that's the most important thing in this game tonight. So let's recap this previous game before we go any further. The game was a good game for the most part in the first period for the Flyers, but the difference was in this game, the Flyers had some opportunities in this game. They had some opportunities to make sure it happened here and there. The thing that I took out in this game, obviously, was just that Montreal's trying to make a postseason push. The place was jumping. Obviously, the place was really like jam packed with Montreal Canadiens fans. If you didn't see the game on Saturday, it was kind of like a playoff atmosphere up at Bell Center, and for sure, it was one of those things that. Sometimes, usually things get in the way, and sometimes things don't go the way you expect them to go. But the thing I took out of this game on Saturday was, it was just that the game could have gone either way for the Flyers. I mean, obviously the game doesn't count for the Flyers, but it does count for Montreal. I think it was, I think Ryan Poehling got the only goal for the Flyers, the former Montreal Canadian, and then after that, Montreal scored 3 unanswered goals in that period. I think it was in the third period. So it was a 1-0 score at the first and into the early and the ending parts of the second period. And Montreal in the third period just took the game and basically took the money and run, if you know what I mean. And basically the thing about it too was it's one of those games that I didn't expect would happen to the Flyers, but the good thing about it too was like I said, it was a playoff atmosphere for Montreal. I mean, the thing that I stick out to it too is that sometimes this is like games that you look down on the schedule right now and you say to yourself, okay, like for example, what's going to be going on at the end of the season and see what the Flyers will look like at the end of the season. There's a lot to unpack here. You think about what's been going on with the Flyers as of lately. They bring in some players that are at the point that were part of their either their championship teams, either in the Frozen Four, which by the way I think it was this weekend or maybe it was last weekend. I'm not sure. So that's where like players like you see in like the NCAA like come into the NHL, for example, like a Ryan Leonard from the Capitals. Another player that the Flyers brought up this week, that made his NHL debut on Saturday night, so keep a close eye on him. I don't know who that is. I think he was a former college student that the Flyers got, and I think it was I'm troubling his name here. So it's like, but what I'm saying is that usually when the players get done college, they go right to the pros, and that's kind of like the circumstance that happened with this game. But more importantly than anything like that, it was Montreal taking this one 3-1 over the Flyers, and frankly, there's nothing more to say about the goaltender situation. I mean, Sam Emerson played good in the 2 periods, but then Sam Emerson turned into Sam Emerson. So can't have that, especially if you're trying to look to try to get better in the draft, trying to get better in the draft, and also what you're going to have in store for the upcoming off season, and see what you do in the off season as well. All right, let's get into our key matchups in this game. So this is two teams that I would thought that this would have been the year that, I mean, to me, this is kind of a shock to me, but it's still kind of shocking that even though the Flyers are the way they are, and also they're like in last place in the conference once again, kind of like what they were last year. And the shocking thing to me is the key matchups in this game here tonight. I'm going to keep a close eye on is especially. Hang on, we got a comment here. Daniel checks in. What's going on, Dan? How you doing, buddy? Thanks for checking in, my friend. So I guess the New York Rangers were the big. I guess there were like one thing that I thought the Rangers for sure, when I saw what they had in store the last couple years, they had Mika Zibanejad, they had Adam Fox and Lafreniere, Capo Caco, and everybody and everything included in that too. To me, it looks to me the Rangers are starting to struggle a little bit. I don't know if it's just that they're tuning out Peter Laviolette, because after a while when Laviolette was here, it started to sound a little bit more like sour grapes, and then the next thing you know, he got canned at the early parts of the 2013-14 season. But like I said with Peter Laviolette, the thing that I like he was a great Flyers coach, got us to the Stanley Cup Finals in 2010. So seeing him struggle like this kind of looks like, they feel. I mean, it's kind of like the same scenario that the Flyers were doing with John Tortorella, but the difference is, I wouldn't say they're tuning them out, but you never know. So I would keep a close eye on that to see who's going to be staying and who's going for those guys, especially when the time calls for it, especially when it matters the most, when that time calls for it, when the Rangers come into when they come into the season, and also what the season comes to an end, and see what they're going to do with Lavi along the way as well. But for the Flyers' sake, not a lot to be key matchups in this game here tonight, like I brought up in the recap of the previous game that we always allude to here. So this will be a time to see what your young guys have in store. This is something to keep a close eye on, especially like the young players, like I mentioned, that are making their NHL debuts. I mean, this is times for other players to try to figure out what they're going to be made of in the next couple months or so. And the other thing I'll take out of it, too, is that sometimes when it matters the most, sometimes you have to do whatever you can to just figure out what you're made of in the NHL season. Sure, the Flyers didn't have a very good season, but there's a lot to unpack when we get closer and closer to the end of the season. So we will be looking forward to what they have in store come at the end of the season. So next week will be the last of the. I think they got one more game on the road, and then they got one more home game, and they close out in Buffalo next week. So it will be. Let me try to think here. I'm trying to think who they play next. So I think it's a matinee game. I think it's I can double check here while I'm talking on the topic here. Like I said, but if you, and like I said, like this is a pregame show, so if you want to just reach a comment, send a comment, just give me like a shout out or something like that. That's all good. I mean, I'm only here for 15 minutes or 20 minutes, so I can spare the time with it too. The Islanders, that's what it was. They played the Islanders to close out that slate of battle of New York teams. They got the Rangers at MSG tonight, and they got the Islanders at 12:30 on Saturday. So that will be the last two home games of the NHL home slate, and then they close out with Buffalo. They play Columbus next Tuesday, so it's going to be the Islanders on Saturday, Columbus on Tuesday, and then they close out the season with the Sabres next Thursday when they take on the Sabres at KeyBank Center. Well, I used to call it HSBC Arena, but that's another story for another day, because the Sabres were just a great team back then. Not the same team that they once were now. But like I said, so that's going to be the key thing here, what they're going to look like with these other players in the process along the way as well. Okay, let's get into who's trending up and who's trending down before we get out of here. I'll give you the injury report because there's a little bit of injuries going on right now for the Flyers, but I don't think there's anything major. But I think right now the best bet will be just to try to do whatever you can to just try to focus on what they're going to look like in the draft. So the who's trending up, not a lot to be trending up for both teams, obviously, because they did not have a good year. Obviously, you think about what the Flyers did, and you think about what the Rangers have done. Um, I'm trying to think about who would be a good guy to step up here in this game if I have to pick one who will be trending up in a positive direction. And yeah, I mean, I'm going to go with some of the young guys that they brought in from the SCAA, from the NCAA, and also like players like even like Matvei Michkov has been fantastic all year, and I think he's been dominant all season long. So that's going to be the most important thing, how he can continue to trend up in a positive direction. For trending down, though, this is a topic that I still try to think to myself. Okay, it kind of sounds like a broken record with the goaltender situation, but it's the truth, though. I mean, the starting goaltender situation has become so I won't say uncharacteristically bad, but at the same time, it's not good at the same time too, because tonight the Flyers actually will have a surprise in their starting goaltender. It's not Sam Ersson or neither Ivan Fedotov, so that will be good to see. The other player that they brought up from the Phantoms and Alexei Kolosov has in store, but the goaltender situation, that's going to tell you all you need to know about what that circumstance is going to look like. Obviously, you think about what they're going to look like, and then some. The Rangers, on the other hand, even though they had some good years in the years past with Zibanejad, and even the list goes on and on, like I mentioned in the early portion of our show, it's just kind of weird that, excuse me, it's kind of weird to see the Rangers starting to struggle a little bit. But then again, it could be that, like the example I just brought up, is that maybe they're tuning out Lavi. But like I said, in this day and age of coaching, it's kind of like a line change in hockey. Once you are successful, you're up here, but once you are not successful, it goes down like a escalates, like, and I wouldn't say escalates badly, but it depends on the situation is, because like look what happened with Lavi. I mean, well, not Lavi. I'm gonna look what happened with Torts. I mean, Torts was only here for 3 years, and after that, they just said, enough is enough. And I mean, I'm still annoyed by it, but what are you going to do? That's the day and age of coaching, and that's the day and age of hockey coaching in this day and age. So not everything's guaranteed, to say the least, too. So that's the other thing, too. So that's going to be who's trending up and who's trending down. All right, let's get into our injury report here before we sign off here, and we'll get ready for this game tonight between the Flyers and Rangers at MSG. Couple injuries that are different than it was the last time I saw you guys. This was an injury report that was reported today, according to, I believe it was ESPN. So I'm guessing it was coming from like Brad Shaw and everybody included like that. So there's only 3 injuries in this game here tonight. So Sean Couturier is going to be day-to-day due to it. Not sure what the injury is, so it's going to be day-to-day for Coots. And that's a concern for Couturier, especially all the injuries that he suffered in his career. Ryan Poehling, who was missed some time due to an injury, looks like he's going to miss tonight's game due to an upper body injury. So he is day-to-day. And like I said, with Rasmus Ristolainen, he's been missing the majority of the games going back to the last few games, and he is still diagnosed with that upper body injury, so he might not be playing the rest of the season. I would not be sure. We'll see Couturier. We'll probably see Couturier probably 1 or 2 more times, maybe Poehling, depending on if they're day-to-day or they can just get shut down for the rest of the season, because literally the season ends next week. So that will be the interesting thing to keep everything about that included. But that's going to be the big key here. So to see what Poehling and also if Couturier come back. But I would guess right now, Rusto is not coming back this season. So it's what it is. So that's how I look at it too. All right, let's get into our starting goaltender matchup before we get out of here. Like I mentioned, in goal tonight for the Flyers, it will be Alexei Kolosov in goal for the Flyers in this game here tonight. Last time I seen Kolosov was probably before the Four Nations. I think he played before that. I don't know if he did. So he's back in goal tonight for the Orange and Black. And his record this season is, well, he only played majority of the game. He didn't play not majority of the game. So his record is plain and simple this year. It's only 4-8-1 this season. And as a goals against average of 3.44. And he'll be opposed by Jonathan Quick. Jonathan Quick, the former two-time Stanley Cup champion MVP of the Los Angeles Kings. Still trying to get back, still trying to figure out what he's going to have in store for that. I would be sure. I don't know if he is retiring at the end of the season, so this is probably his last wraparound with the Rangers. So it'll be curious to see what Jonathan Quick does at the end of the season. But like I said, this is, I think, is his third year with the Kings. Third year with the Rangers. Excuse me. That's when I'm just used to Jonathan Quick being a Los Angeles King. So speaking of the two-time champion, his record this season is 10-6-2 this season. And has a goals against average of 3.03. So call us up for the Flyers, and it will be Quick for the. I was going to say it again. Quick for the Rangers. It's like you would think. Like when you think of Jonathan Quick, you think of the LA Kings, of those two Stanley Cup championships he won in the process too. And well, I would say predictions in this game tonight, but. I mean, the question is, though, the predictions. I mean, I'm not going to try to sound like I'm being a little bit weird here, but like, do we even need a prediction for this game here tonight? I guess the prediction is just continue to lose, like kind of like the Sixers right now, and try to lose. Not tank for the first overall pick. I mean, that's not going to happen in the NHL. That's not going to happen for the Flyers' sake as well. But it's going to be up to the other guys to see what they have in store. It's going to be for sure what they have in store for the upcoming couple weeks or so, to see what they have in store until the end of the games next week. So tonight will be basically the countdown to the end of the season. And after tonight, the Flyers will have 4 more games left. And after that, there will be 3 on Saturday, 2 on Tuesday, and then 1 on Thursday night. And that's all she wrote. That's going to be all we have in store for the upcoming 2024-2025 season. But I will be sure I will be back very, very soon, depending on my busy schedule, to see what we have in store for a Flyers. Probably a recap of the season if I want to recap the season, if I want to, because it's not been the best of seasons for the Orange and Black. Had its fair share of obstacles, but this is not goodbye for now. But I'm just letting you know, if we do, like, if this is the final time I see you guys next week, just want to say that thank you for everybody for chiming in and all that too. But that's another story for another day, because I will give you, I'll just try to make sure I'll be back for the next season, this time around, to recap all the Flyers games from opening night until the last game of April. So hopefully by that time, the Flyers will be in a positive direction of going into the postseason, unlike this year. All right, that's going to wrap up this portion of the Hockey Night on Board Flyers pregame show for tonight. So coming up in the next weeks or so, I would be sure either tomorrow, I got a Phillies postgame, and I think on next Friday, I will be back here on Hardcore Sports Network talking all things birds. So that will be a Fly Like an Eagle podcast with the Dom himself, Mitch Kovsky. And also myself will be talking birds, getting ready for the NFL draft. So that'll be on Hardcore Sports Network. Like I said, stay tuned right now just stay tuned for the Flyers game right now. There's a Phillies game going on right now, so I'm going to stay close to that dial. And if you want to watch the Sixers, by all means, I think you're just wasting. I just think you're wasting time if you want to watch the Sixers and try to think you're going to. At this point, the Sixers are trying to figure out what they're going to do with that first overall pick and try to get Cooper Flag, but I wouldn't know. Anyways, that's going to do this portion of the Flyers post for the Flyers pregame shows tonight. But until then, this has been the Hockey Night on Board Flyers pregame show. I'm your host, James Scorza, saying thanks for watching, everybody. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the 3 games going on tonight in the Philly sports scene. We will be back again I will be back with you guys on Saturday. That will be a matinee game, so I'm guessing that's a 12 o'clock pregame show, 12:30 puck drop, as the Flyers take on the Isles for the final time this season. and then they will close out their home slate against Columbus, and then next week they take on the Sabres to close out 2024-2025. But until then, now for everyone behind the scenes and for everyone that made it work here, thanks for everybody for watching. Thanks to everybody for chiming in, and also thanks to everybody who wants to watch this. But thanks again for watching, everybody. Until then, I'm James Scorza saying, enjoy the game, everybody, and we will see you next time, I guess, and hopefully we'll see a better game out of it, and hopefully we'll have a better game to recap on Saturday night. Until then, we'll see you guys on Saturday. Until then, I'll talk to you guys on the other side. Take care.